So I made the decision literally about 2 years ago that I was no longer interested in being nice. I was no longer interested in people viewing me as a particularly nice person. Compassionate, yeah. Kind, yeah. Respected, yeah. Nice, no. And the reason that is because of what is associated with being nice in my head. I associate it with being a people pleaser. I associate it with inauthenticity. I associate it with somebody who is, certainly for me and my experience, somebody who is easy to manipulate, somebody who will continue to be nice and treats people well or give people time when they are not being treated correctly, when those people do not deserve their time. That's what I see it as, and this is why I'm no longer interested in being nice. It frankly didn't serve me. And the problem is, especially women, we are taught that being the good girl or being nice in any situation, whether it's in our relationships, in our friendships, in our family situations, being nice is the most important thing that we can be, outside of being also attractive. But in terms of society, women are told routinely that being assertive, being disagreeable, being somebody who is difficult, being somebody who doesn't tolerate bullshit is something to be ashamed of as a woman. I feel like it's very ingrained into me that being amenable, being pleasant to other people is what is most important. We are rewarding people for essentially abandoning themselves in the pursuit of looking nice, looking amenable, looking pleasant, or coming across as nice. And honestly, I don't have time for it. And as I touched on a minute ago, niceness to me doesn't equal kindness. It doesn't equal compassion. You know, just because I say that I don't want to be a nice person, it doesn't mean that I don't want to be kind, loving, considerate, caring for other people. That's not what I mean. I'm no longer interested in fitting into the good girl trope where I'm infallible and I make sure that I put everybody else before me. I'm not doing it. 2 years ago, I kind of made that decision as somebody who had been a chronic people pleaser, somebody who was literally a shell of themselves by this point when I was like 23, 24. I was sick of constantly abandoning myself in the pursuit of giving off a certain impression of being nice. Yeah, obviously there are times now where I do still kind of have that feeling where like, oh God, they probably think that I'm a bad person. I'm definitely seen as like the villain in certain people's stories, and it's a very uncomfortable feeling. But I would much rather be that in somebody else's head than live a life that is inauthentic, live a life where I am constantly molding myself to please other people and to fit in with the expectations of other people. I would just disappoint them. As I said, kind of 2 years ago, I was this people pleaser and I just didn't want to be that anymore. And part of the reason was I wanted to be more authentic. I understood that being more authentic or finding my authenticity would liberate me, would free me up to be exactly who I am with no resentment or shame around who I was. I also knew that it would push me forward when it came to my business, when it came to my content creation. Like, if you look at videos, even like a year ago, I am just not who I am right now. I am probably the most authentic I've ever been online. And if you look back at those videos, I am, I guess, palatable. And that's another thing that always comes up when I think about nice. It's like palatable. I don't want to be fucking palatable. And neither should you. You should just want to be your authentic self. And the good thing is, when you are your authentic self, you draw in the right people. When you're nice, when you're trying to pretend to be this person or mold yourself, to be amenable to other people, you become less authentic. And therefore, when you become less authentic, you draw in the wrong people, or at least you do not filter out the bullshit. When you want to be friends with all the world, irrespective of how they treat you, because you just want that external validation, you want to be popular, or you want to have lots of friends, or want to be seen to be popular and have lots of friends, you end up keeping around people that, first of all, aren't meant for you. Maybe they don't align. But second of all, you're not able to weed out the bullshit because you're like, oh, I don't want them to think of me in this bad way. I don't really feel like I'm aligned with them, but I don't want to get rid of them because then I'll lose external validation. Then I'm like losing friends. And that's certainly how I felt. The past 2 years, I've removed quite a significant amount of friends because I recognized that now, like, they were not good for me. They didn't want good things for me. They weren't aligned. But for such a long time, I kept them around because either my self-esteem was low and I was like, maybe I won't be able to make more friends, or I don't want to be alone, and so on. But also that I wanted to maintain this idea that I was somebody with a lot of friends. Like, I think previously I was kind of like low-key judgmental of people that had very few friends because I thought that's something's wrong with them. But actually it was me projecting the fact that I needed to have like lots of friends in order to give myself the validation that I was valuable, that I was popular, that I was somebody that people were drawn to and that they liked and stuff. No, I was sacrificing my authenticity and who I really was by keeping these people around because I just wanted to come across in a certain way. It's not a fucking flex to be able to say I've got loads of friends, even if, you know, 90% of them are not right for you, that hold you down, that make you feel like shit every time you see them. Like, what's the point? When we are so hell-bent on being nice and being seen as the good girl or good guy in the situation, like I said, we sacrifice our authenticity, and it's usually as a result of the fact that we've been conditioned, either through childhood or through school, that gaining other people's approval and lots of other people's approval by maybe being associated with them, by being, you know, having lots of friends, is how we derive our value, and that we are going to be most rewarded when we mold ourselves to appease lots of different people. We become like a chameleon, and that's what I feel like people pleasing is. It's like we become like a chameleon depending on who we're around and who we're kind of engaging with, because we want to be pleasing to them, we want to gain their approval, we want to gain that external validation from them, and you know, we abandon ourselves in that process. If you're constantly molding yourself, like, who are you? Where's the authenticity? Who are you? And it's taken me literally like 2 or 3 years to actually find who I am again. Like, to actually discover who Hattie is outside of people pleasing, outside of doing things or becoming somebody that other people approve of. I still catch it now. Sometimes I like find myself policing myself because I don't want to come across in a certain way. And then I'm like, stop myself. And I just think, if this person finds me so unpalatable for being myself, being authentic, obviously with good intentions, you know, not going around being a dick, but if my genuine true self, that's not palatable to them, that's not something that they like, that's a great thing, because I'm like, okay, you're not for me. Whereas if you're nice and you're palatable and you're amenable and you mold yourself to other people, you're not going to be able to detect whether or not somebody's for you or not. You won't be able to guess, because you've molded yourself so much to them. You can't see the wood for the trees. You can't tell whether or not they're actually authentic or a good match with you, because you've changed your entire being in order to appease them, in order to be palatable to them. So you don't actually know, neither do they, whether or not you and them would actually be a true match or a true alignment, because you're not even being authentic. Wanting to be seen as the good guy, the good girl, keeps trash around. It doesn't let the trash take itself out. And you know how I know this? Because when I was in that situation where I was like, I need to actually start making changes, I don't want to be inauthentic anymore, I started setting boundaries, I started saying no more often, I started standing up for myself. And it was really intriguing to see who fucked off when I started to basically choose myself. When I started to do things in alignment with what I wanted and what I felt was best for me. It was like, oh my God, I've been keeping around all these people that should not have been there, that were poisoning my space for a really long time. And because I was so hell-bent on being nice and so insistent on being seen as the good girl, the nice person in these situations, and that being my personality or like what I wanted to be known for, my ego was so attached to that I was literally like harming myself by keeping in, or self-sabotaging by keeping these people in, or certain people in that were not meant to be there. Because my authenticity would have put them off anyway. If I'd just been authentic from the start, if I'd just been exactly who I was right from the start, those people would not have even been able to come into my space. They would not have been let in. They would not have even wanted to step into my space, because they would have thought, can't really manipulate this person, can't really take advantage of this person, can't use this person, so I'm not going to bother. And this is where I feel like it gets into the manipulation side, because when you're so hell-bent on being seen as nice, you get external validation, you don't get internal validation. You're so easily manipulated, because people who are manipulative look out for people that are so keen to be seen as nice, because they know that people who are so keen to be seen as nice will prioritize this over being respected, will prioritize this persona over being respecting themselves and choosing themselves. They will literally abandon themselves in order to be seen as nice. And this is where manipulative people are kind of like quite dangerous, because they look out for people that they think they can easily use, abuse, and take advantage of. And those are the people that are so keen to put out this persona of being nice that they will not set boundaries, they will not stand up for themselves, they will not call out disrespect, because they're worried that takes them out of their nice guy or their good girl trope. It takes them out of that realm. And this is why, you know, it's really difficult for people pleasers to come out of this, because, or not just people pleasers, but anybody who's insistent on being nice. It's so difficult to come out of, because you basically, the only way you're going to come out of it is to accept that people are going to see you as the villain, that accept that you're going to be seen as not nice, which is like your ultimate fear, right? And this is what users and abusers know. They know that that's your ultimate fear and they take advantage of it. And it's really difficult for when you are trying to heal from this, because you are seen as your ultimate fear. When I started to walk away from certain friendships, I knew they were talking behind my back. I knew that they'd be probably accusing me of all sorts of things. I knew that they would definitely see me as the villain in their story. And that is my ultimate fear. The only way I was ever going to come out of like this inauthenticness and this easily manipulated version of Hattie was to be okay with being seen as the villain, because I know that I wasn't actually the villain. It's just that I started to say no to people, I started to set boundaries, and I started to stand up for myself. And manipulative people will see anybody who they've been formerly able to utilize and manipulate as a personal attack. Manipulative people see anybody who stands up to them as the baddie. It's not because you are, it's just because they can no longer get what they want from you anymore. They can no longer take advantage of you in the way that they once did, and that's offensive to them. They also understand at that point that you've seen them for who they truly are, and they're going to try and put you back in the box that you were. All this to say is that when you are so interested in being nice, you are opening yourself up to manipulation. Even to me now, if I think about, you know, the friendships that I used to have, it's still an uncomfortable prospect to me to know that they think I'm the villain, that they think that I'm the bad guy in this situation. But I understand intellectually that it's coming from a place of a lack of control and an ego place, rather than because I was really disrespectful, really unkind and really hurtful. You know, it's coming from a place of like, oh, I'm bruised, my ego's bruised, therefore that's Hattie's fault, you know? So even though I understand this intellectually, I can understand that it's difficult. It's like, which hard do you want to pick, or which sacrifice do you want to go for? Do you want to sacrifice your image of being nice, but then choose your authenticity and choose your freedom? Or do you want to maintain your image of being nice, but continue to abandon yourself by hanging around with people or doing things that don't serve you, and living a less rich life as a result of that? I know which one I'd rather choose, and that's why I'm just not interested in being nice anymore. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with people not thinking that I'm nice. I'm not interested in that being part of my personality or part of what people associate with me, because it's not a flex. And I think that's ultimately why I see this idea of like being nice as such a trap. Because when you're in it, like I said, you feel like you can't come out of it. You feel like you've kind of, your ego and your pride almost feels attached to this nice guy or good girl or good guy trope, that you're like, oh, I don't want to move out of that, which unfortunately causes problems when you need to stand up for yourself. Because you know that standing up for yourself will probably piss people off, will probably hurt people's egos, but you know that you need to do it in order to garner respect. Nice people are more likely to brush disrespect under the carpet, or not address disrespect, or not stand up for themselves, or not set boundaries through fear that they will be seen as not nice in some way. Because you would much rather be in the safety of being nice than you would be in the necessary kind of category of being respected. And this is where my priorities have now switched from. I would much rather be respected. I'd much rather have people not take the piss with me than be liked. I know that it's not about like, I know that it's more about, they put me in this category of like, you know, they've got two categories. One is I can manipulate this person, I can't manipulate this person. And when I stand up for myself, when I say no, when I set a boundary, they put me in the category of like, I can't, you know, utilize this person, I can't take advantage of this person, therefore I'm not going to bother with them, I'm not going to give them any time. And that's what it can feel like, you know, dislike. It's not dislike, it's just that they've put you in the category of, oh, I can't really do anything with this person because they won't tolerate it, so I'm not going to bother, I'm not going to make effort. Don't take it personally. They've just put you in a different category. So I think ultimately deciding that you're not interested in being nice liberates you to almost show up imperfectly as well, and not mold yourself, not have to like contort yourself in order to be palatable to other people. And it also like reduces your sense of entitlement as well, because the thing is, when we are so obsessed with being nice and being appeasing to people, we then think that people should like us because we're putting in the work, right? We're putting in the work to be nice, to be amenable, to be moldable, to contort ourselves, to be this chameleon that people accept. And then sometimes people don't accept us, people still don't like us, and we're like, what? I don't understand. I'm putting in all this work and they still don't like me. And there's this sense of entitlement. But the thing is, when you're just being authentic, when you're just being yourself, you don't feel entitled, to anybody liking you, because you're just like, look, the right people will be drawn to me and the wrong people will be repelled by me. And that's how it should be. You don't feel this sense of frustration when people don't like you, because that's not what your whole goal is. Manipulators and abusers and so on know they can sniff out when somebody gets a lot of their value from external validation. People can sense that. I know that I can sense it with other people. I can sense when somebody cares a lot about external validation. And I can also sense when somebody doesn't and gets a lot of their validation internally. And unfortunately, manipulators can sense the same thing. So in my opinion, it's almost like a bit dangerous to be hell-bent on being seen as nice. It's dangerous in some respects to have some people pleaser tendencies, because it gets you in hot water. It gets you in situations where people take advantage of your need for external validation. People will take advantage of your need to maintain this nice person persona, knowing that you will choose that over being respected. It's dangerous and it makes you feel trapped. I want to be known for virtues that are real, I want to be known as kind, compassionate, loving, caring. But I'm also okay if people think that I'm a bit arsey, a bit vulgar, a bit rude. Like, that's fine. Everybody has a technicolor of like good and bad kind of traits to them. People interested in being nice don't necessarily kind of embrace their shadow self. They kind of feel shame around their shadow side, perhaps things that are less, positive about them. Something that really helped me through unlearning these people pleaser tendencies and unlearning this idea that being nice should be heralded as the most important thing is being in touch with my anger, being in touch with my passion and like care for stuff. Obviously within reason, if we're able to deal with anger correctly and channel it in the right way through creativity or whatever it might be, it's actually a very valid emotion and an emotion that pushes us forward and is actually a protective barrier for us. Obviously, we don't want to be using anger to the detriment of other people. That's a given. But anger is not inherently bad. Just like all emotions are not inherently bad, but we label some as bad and good. I think when we are so interested in being nice, we kind of neglect that shadow side of us. We neglect perhaps those emotions that need to be tended to, we don't want to let come out, We don't want to show other people. We don't want to let people think that we have a dark side to us when everybody has a quote unquote dark side to them. Giving attention to that shadow side of myself, that side of me that maybe isn't associated with niceness, but knowing that doesn't make me like an inherently bad person, because we've all got good and bad. That's like a little extra thing that I'm quite grateful for, because if I feel like I know myself better and therefore like deal with situations better, if we just suppress it and keep it swallowed and closed down, it might flare up, and it actually did on a few occasions. Whereas now, because I'm open with it and I accept it and I embrace it, it doesn't come out so negatively. It doesn't come out in such it's definitely not destructive, Anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you took some value. I hope it was reassuring, validating, interesting. Please subscribe if you feel inclined, and definitely comment down below if you have experiences with deciding that you don't want to be nice anymore, or how you've kind of like healed through this idea of like being nice, or your people pleaser tendencies. I would really like to know. Anyway, with that, thank you for watching. Have a fantastic remainder of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.